Hi everyone, this is Inspire Beautiful. Have you ever made a decision that felt right for you and then found yourself spending more time explaining it rather than actually living it? Maybe you've changed careers, started over, stepped back, or simply decided that some things no longer deserve the same amount of your energy. Because when we've spent years being one particular way, people can become accustomed to us. So they may even resist it. But here's something I've had to learn: someone else not understanding your growth doesn't mean your growth is wrong. Sometimes we spend an enormous amount of energy trying to make our choices understandable to people who aren't living our lives. We explain why we need more space, why we're saying no, why we're changing direction, why something that used to matter doesn't matter in the same way anymore, why we're no longer available for certain things. And sometimes we explain ourselves so thoroughly that we almost start asking for permission. But growth doesn't require permission. Sometimes you simply reach a point where you know something you didn't know before. You know what drains you, you know what restores you, and you know what matters. You know what you're no longer willing to compromise, and you don't have to build a case for every one of those realizations. This doesn't mean we shouldn't listen to people. Growth isn't the same thing as believing we're always right. There are people in our lives whose perspective matters, people who know us well, and people who love us enough to tell us the truth. We can listen, we can reflect, and we can change our minds. But there's a difference between being open to perspective and needing everyone to approve of your choices. Sometimes the need to be understood becomes exhausting because the more you explain, the more someone can debate. You explain your boundary, and they explain why you shouldn't have one. You explain your decision, and they explain why they would have made a different choice. At some point, you may realize, I don't need to convince you. I simply need to be honest with myself. And that can be a very peaceful place to arrive. There may also be people who only recognize the old version of you. They remember when you were always available, when you always said yes, when you accepted things that you wouldn't accept today, when you put everyone else's needs ahead of your own. And when you begin making different choices, they may interpret your growth as distance, selfishness, or attitude. But sometimes what looks like distance from the outside is simply a healthier relationship with yourself. You don't have to become defensive about that. You can simply continue quietly, consistently, with integrity, because real growth isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's simply responding differently than you used to, not taking the bait, not over explaining, and not abandoning yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. Choosing a different environment, taking care of yourself without feeling guilty, and realizing that peace doesn't require everyone to agree with you. There's freedom in that. You can love people who don't completely understand you. You can respect people who make different choices. You can listen without surrendering your own judgment. And you can continue becoming without bringing everyone with you. Not everyone is meant to understand every chapter of your life. Your responsibility isn't to make your growth comfortable for anyone else. Your responsibility is to live it honestly and to the fullest. So if you're entering a new season of your life and someone doesn't quite understand the changes that they're seeing, pause before you start over explaining. Sometimes the answer is very different, and sometimes the most powerful explanation is consistency. Let your choices speak for themselves. Let your character speak loudly. And let the life you're building speak for itself. You don't have to convince everyone that you've changed. You simply have to keep becoming who you were meant to be. Inspire Beautiful. Take care, everyone, and thanks for joining me.